30 seconds ago anyway. Call to order the Thursday, November 12th, 2020 Traffic Safety, Bikeways, and Pedestrian Committee meeting. First or second list on the list is the approval of the minutes from the October meeting.
I move we approve the minutes of the October 2020 meeting.
I second that as written.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed or abstain?
Abstain.
Okay, one abstention.
Okay.
Next, we have the appearance of interested citizens. This is a time for citizens to come and talk about issues or topics that are not on the agenda. I don't think we have any tonight. Okay. Number 4, as is our usual process, we will be canceling our December meeting. Does anyone have a concern or congratulations on that one? Okay, great. Okay, so let's move on to project reports. Wayne, would you like to begin with the ODOT Community Path?
I'll be happy to.
Thank you.
I did go to a city council meeting last month. Before city council meeting, I met with Bill Lawyer about the feasibility of our 2 planned Oregon Community Path projects. And he basically informed me that really neither one of them was a good candidate for this type of project. One, because it would have been basically signage. This would be the one on Dearborn up to the Salem Bikeway. And all it really involved was just 4 signs, about $1,000. So not really enough to put it through the grant process for that one. The other one was we were looking at a crosswalk near Keizer Station and Target. And he didn't think that was a good idea either. I'm trying to remember why. Anyway, not a good idea. I can't remember why. Having a senior moment.
Mr. Fry?
Yes.
It had to do with the visibility and how tight and everything was
Yes,
there.
yes.
That was one of the biggest, major concerns that they had about it.
Yes, thank you, Councilor Kohler.
I was there.
Yes. Okay, so I did mention the other 5 projects that we had looked at, just to give them an idea of what we were thinking. So we didn't present any of the 7 ideas for letter of intent. But about 3 days before the letter of intent was due, I came up with another idea, which you guys have not heard yet. It's at City Council, that meeting, they were talking about expanding the urban growth boundary. And so I started thinking, how can we, if they do expand the urban growth boundary, how can we get a Oregon Community Path connected to the Salem Bikeway and the Keizer Station Bikeway? There's actually 2 bikeways. And so I came up with an idea that would go through Radiant Drive and then go behind the power station and then cut over to an existing sewage easement. It's underground. It's like a dirt road with manholes underneath it. It goes all the way to Country Glen Park. It's already there. And it would have no impact on easements or because it's already an easement. Okay. He thought it's a feasible idea, but not for this cycle. We're too late on this one. We didn't have time to price it. We didn't have, and then we don't know when the urban growth boundary, if it will ever be expanded. So, but for the future, we have an idea of connecting the bikeways through this Oregon Community Path to Country Glen Park and Hidden Creek Park, and then come out on River Road. And So it was a little too late for this year, but it's still a possible idea for the next 2-year cycle. I have a picture of it if you guys want to see it.
I personally think it's a great idea. What about the railroad?
The path would go under the railroad,
Okay.
and that was a concern because if it went over it, it would be a no-brainer. It would be no-go if it went over the train tracks. But it goes under the train tracks. There's already like a gravel road there, wide enough. I think he said it's 20 feet wide. Cuts across.
I say let's keep it on the docket.
Yes, I agree. It's a little early to start submitting it and talking about it until the next 2-year cycle. But let's keep it in mind.
The neighborhood association probably would love that one. That would be Gupser.
Yes, Greater Gupser neighborhood.
That's that's optimistic. The city's long-range planning rejected this was 2 years ago, rejected the urban growth boundary expansion. The state was against it. The Willamette Valley Council of Governments weren't in favor of it. And a lot of the costs associated with expanding the urban growth boundary weren't discussed. The traffic is just one small part. I remember when Newburgh or McMinnville tried it, their lawyer fees were in the millions. Because you're going up against state law, so you're going to have to get the state to change their
Yeah, there's
dedicated, whatever you call that,
And
farmland. And they have been fighting against cities taking over farmland. And this is all farmland we're looking at, pretty much.
it would be right on the edge of, the trail would be right on the edge of farmland.
Yeah, the trail isn't an issue.
The urban growth boundary would be, that area near River Road in between Perkins and possibly going all the way out to Quinnipiac.
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about, David, and, with the urban growth boundary, we are actually married to Salem, and we'd have to do that in negotiations. But I don't want to kill that idea just because of that, because there's a possibility, even beyond the urban growth boundary movement, we might be able to partner with the county
Yeah.
for a facility. Because that's county land, and like you said, it's not actually on the prime farmland. We might be able to do something.
How far out did you plan on going? Out to Quinnipiac?
The trail it would start from the train track, okay, and go to Country Glen Park. And the path is already there because it's a
Okay.
sewage easement.
Is this the one?
And it's like a gravel road that goes all the way through.
Okay,
With
that'd
manholes
be a good
under it.
bike path anyway.
Is this it right here?
It's a little dark, I can't see.
I can fix the lights so you can see better.
And even if we didn't want to pave it, it would still be a good gravel route for cycling, for the gravel and hiking and
Yes.
walking, so.
And connectivity
Yeah.
to the existing bike trails.
Yep.
All right, let me give you an idea about this point. Right here's Volcano Stadium. This is Radiant Drive. And when I looked at Google Maps, there is an existing dirt pathway here, right here. So that would not impact Radiant Drive.
Goes over to
When I
Perkins.
talked to Bill Larson, he said Radiant Drive is no longer in use. And he would, and there's property here, grass. And so what I was thinking is to use this trail to connect up to the urban growth boundary. But what he suggested is not mess up this land. This land is for sale. It's called the Rawlings property, and it's for sale. And
Farmland.
so what he would recommend is putting the path right next to Radiant Drive, and then it goes up to, blue line is Lake Lavish Ditch, and there's a dirt trail on, the dirt road on the side of the trail. On this side And so it would come all the way here, and then we'll keep going until we get to Country Glen Park. Country Glen Park has a multi-use path already, and it connects to Hidden Creek Park.
Wait a second.
Okay, from Hidden Creek Park, you can get out to River Road. So that would effectively connect River Road to the bike trail way over here. Here's the bike trail right here, is where it comes in.
Yeah, runs
Then
right in.
Keizer Station Bike Trail. And then the Keizer Station Bike Trail connects to the Salem Parkway Bike
Kind
Trail.
of. Not very well.
Part of it. So that's the idea that I would like to consider for the future. And because they were talking, City Council was talking about expanding urban growth boundary, I thought, I know it's going to be up there somewhere. Let's make I would like to have if we expand the urban growth boundary, there should be a multi-use path connecting it to the rest of the world. That's my opinion. Anyway.
Nice, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, that certainly would be a time to do it before things get filled in and you can't get the right of way for it.
So that's my update on Oregon Community Path. That's all I have.
Just to add to that, if all of those things came to pass, my recall is the urban growth boundary the city was talking about goes all the way out. It takes in part of the tulip farms, but that would become a destination if you could work it in all the way out to, all the way out, a little bit farther. That's just an idea. I'm assuming they're going to plow up everything out to the tulip farms, including part of it, yeah.
Is there any reason why you wouldn't just have it go up to here and follow the ditch or Lake LaBiche?
To the ditch.
Right, you were having it go to the west of Volcano Stadium. I was wondering, that way we don't have to worry about, and maybe because of the path, the right-of-way thing, but having it just follow up Radiant Drive, I guess the official one now, and then turn into that pathway alongside Lake LaBiche, or not LaBiche.
LaBiche Ditch.
Yeah,
Actually, I think on the west side of Volcano Stadium would be safer. It's in between the power station and Volcano Stadium. That stretch of road close to the freeway is very narrow and not a good place for a path currently.
It's privately owned.
Probably, yes.
Yeah, the Keizer own
There's
that.
some farms in there.
They have the Keizer Equestrian Center right there.
So that easement doesn't go all the way to the road then?
No, but if you could add just an area that could connect from the pathway to have bikes go to the Volcano Stadium and maybe a bike rack there to help out with people that may want to ride to the stadium when it's,
Well, Tepper Lane comes in down right here at the bottom.
Yeah, right
Tepper
there.
Lane comes in from the Gupser neighborhood, and there's an underpass for the train. So they can take Tepper Lane, and they can get to Volcano Stadium. And they can also get to the bike trail, which picks up right here.
okay.
The
And-
current Keizer Station bike trail.
And volcanoes do have some reasonably good racks there. Mm.
So if you want to watch baseball, you can get there currently.
Shriners,
There's a connection.
Shriners Iris.
they own the property right next to Perkins Road.
Okay, well,
Was there anybody from the Gupser Neighborhood Association at the city council meeting? I know they were very interested in the Tepper
Tepper underpass.
project. And so I would, if they weren't there, I'd like to just let them know that it didn't go through. I was in communication.
What I learned about the Tepper project that we had proposed,
Yes.
one of the two that we had approved
Mhm.
for a letter of intent was, It would cost about $20,000, rough estimate, and it would be a crosswalk, and it'd have to be some signs saying pedestrian or bike crossing ahead. It is on a dangerous corner.
Yeah, I just want to let them know that it didn't go.
It did not go for Gupser.
Because I'd talked to them about it.
Mhm.
We're interested in it, so I will do that.
So I would like to keep this on our radar, and 2 years from now, or before 2 years from now, like a year from now, we start promoting this.
So, because it's not completely within the UGB right now, would we have to have the county sign off on it as well? During the letter?
It is in the urban growth
Oh,
boundary
okay, it
right
is
now.
within, okay.
The urban growth boundary is the middle of the Lake Lavish ditch.
A proposed one.
No.
Not
Oh,
the current
current
one.
one?
Currently.
Current.
True, but the property's still dedicated farmland. Some of it is. I'm just saying,
nor-
if
the
the
nor-
lawsuits get expensive when you go up against these big nonprofits
Right.
whose job it is to stop you from plowing
But-
up the farms.
But with Bonneville and the sewer right-of-way already there and already gravel, it wouldn't, I don't think we'd have as difficult.
It would not present an easement issue, because the easement
Not
is
for
already
the
there.
Trail now.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I just want to make sure that we know we've got all the signatory bodies that we need to.
Oh, yes.
you know,
I think
so.
we would have to at least partner with the county.
Okay. Okay,
And of course, because we probably have to partner with the state also because of the railroad.
right.
And
And,
go under the railroad, and Bill Lawyer said that would not be an issue at all.
But he knows
yeah,
how to-
They probably need to, the state needs to know about it, or the railroad needs to know about it.
Oh, yeah.
how big is that underpass for the railroad, do you know?
He said it was 20 feet, I haven't been there.
20 feet wide or 20 feet
Yeah,
long?
20 feet wide,
Oh, wow. Okay.
It's about like the one on Temper.
wide enough for a dirt road, or
Yeah.
gravel road.
Okay, well, that would be plenty wide then, yeah. Did he mention anything about, I don't know, having to gate things off or fence things off or anything?
No discussion on that, we didn't get that far.
Okay. Well, in line with what Wayne was talking about getting on top of this thing, I think it'd be good, and I was thinking maybe getting some type of Google Doc that we could create a template for this and future applications, and that way it'll be just a change names and locations, assuming we get one, or hopefully not rejected for one, and we at least have the template letter ready to go. I don't know.
The letter of intent from ODOT
Uh-huh.
is probably gonna be what that template will be based on,
Okay,
and that's already available.
okay. Well, then,
You fill it out online.
yeah. Deb, is it only online? Like,
Yeah.
it's a kind of a form-filled
Interactive
document?
online.
Okay.
Is it still available? I don't know if they were going to take it down after the
Mike has some
deadline
additional
passed.
information about the deadline.
Yeah, so ODOT, I get ODOT updates, and they actually had extended the letter of intent for off-system path program to November 15th, which is still too short.
Yeah, not enough
for us,
time
you know,
to,
But I wonder if it's possible, maybe if we can at least download the letter.
I've got it.
Okay, so great. So Debbie, does the city have anything for committees that would have sort of like a document warehousing where we could, and it was kind of in line with what I asked about the Google Docs before. Does the city allow space for committees to have a document warehouse like that?
Well, I have a separate file for this committee and several files within it. And I can save it for you under a certain year, or we can give it a file name where we can find it when we want to bring it back up again. So anything the committee wants to do, we can work with that.
And I'm thinking if it has the possibility for where we could access it without like a login, where we can
Oh.
access it.
No, our IT people are pretty cautious.
Right.
So, and I don't believe that the city has a Dropbox or a Google Docs account.
Okay.
But you can always ask me and I can send it to you. I know, you can share it via email and that sort of thing and work on it that way. But,
Yeah.
But there's nothing, I don't think there's any other options.
Okay.
I have an option that we might be able to use if you wanted to check into it is, what if we had a tvp@gmail.com account, which you would have the access and password to? That way we could get into the Google Drive and you can invite all of us with our email address. Is that an option that we could check into?
I can do that, I can check.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. That's a good idea. Okay, well, so right now we're sitting at that one idea, or what about those other 5 you were talking about?
The other 5 are, 3 of them were in Salem, so
Right.
they were determined not to be viable.
Right.
Let's see. One of them, the Dearborn, was only signage, which is not enough to go through a grant process for.
Mhm.
If it's only $1,000, it costs probably more than that to administer the grant. And
Right.
and then the one from Chris Epley,
Epley?
the one on River Road. I think they said that was a really large project and not anytime soon. And the original discussion is Chris Epley thought the sidewalks were in the easement, not in the right-of-way. So that's what we're looking for, is
Yeah.
in the easements, not on the right-of-way. I think that's still, it's going to be River Road redevelopment, and it's going to cause businesses to not be happy because they might not get their driveway on River Road, and
Right.
there's many concerns on that one. So way more than we could deal with in this time frame.
I agree. Yeah, it's there's too many moving parts on that one, and too big of a price tag already attached to it that we would not want to hitch our wagon to that one. And just in case you were all curious, I had mentioned that one time about the one through the wetland in Claggett by Weddell and Claggett. I will just show you, just so you. Where am I here? It's hard to go on this one.
By the way, Google Maps is really cool. You should all check it out.
Cool, but now I'm lost. No.
Or Google Earth, rather.
Right, and there we go, right there, okay. So this is the wetland area behind the school. Here's Claggett Creek. And there's this dead end over here. And I do know that, so that as part of the mitigation, right now, I think the only one who has an easement on, or a deed restriction on this would be the Corps of Engineers. But it's possible they would be open to something that's a boardwalk style connection that would allow kids to get through this neighborhood to the school without having to come through here. Which Alder, as you probably all know, can get pretty heavy traffic, especially in the mornings, under normal circumstances. But I can always, ask if people are thinking this is a good idea to at least ask. Approach the subject with Corps.
This is actually my neighborhood, so
So-
it is congested on Alder
Yeah.
for the times of kids being out of school for about an hour in the morning and afternoon. And I can see the congestion probably will be more soon, or when they return. I would be in favor.
I think the Southeast Neighborhood Association would be wonderful partners on this one, because I know Ken has talked about those kind of issues with the kids and stuff, so. I agree.
Is it Senka? What is the?
Southeast Keizer Neighborhood Association.
SECNA, SEKNA.
Okay, well, I'll ask and see if I can get anywhere on it. If I can, then we'll,
Yeah, I'd want to get the neighborhood association involved in their input.
yeah. It may be a non-starter with the core, but figure.
Yeah, that's true. I know the school district, when they built that, went through a lot of different hoops.
Yep. Okay, well, thank you, Wayne.
I used to raft down there as a kid.
Raft?
Yeah, because he was always flooded.
Yeah. Okay, move on to Steve. What do you got for the citywide missing link neighborhood connectivity?
Well, I asked Deb to prepare and distribute these handouts to everybody to sort of inform and guide our thinking on connectivity going forward. A lot of this is historic information, much of it from the existing transportation system plan. So the first page and back is what's in the 2009/14 transportation system plan for bike facilities. And it shows the existing facilities and then the plans for future facilities are shaded on it, and those improvement projects are listed on the back of that page. Those are, and I don't know that any of those have been actually achieved by now, but that's what that is. The next sheet, page 3 effectively, is sidewalk connectivity. That is the material that we as a committee came up with in terms of what we wanted to promote, what we thought were high priority projects for connectivity, and collated with what is in the existing transportation system plan. Some of those projects are asterisked to note that they at least overlap with projects that are in the transportation system plan. The page 4 and 5 and 6 are the sidewalk and pedestrian plans. One showing first existing sidewalks and or at the time that this was put together in 2009, the gaps in sidewalks, and then again, the plans shaded, which show what folks want to do and what the city wants to do in the future. Those pedestrian improvement projects are listed on the back of that page. And then the last 2 sheets or 4 pages are the current sidewalk inventory in Keizer, and got this from Public Works, and this is what's currently being put together for principally ADA compliance issues. But shows that it's not, what it shows in terms of gaps in sidewalk is it's not very different from what is shown in the 2009 Transportation System Plan maps. And looking at it, you can see that there are several areas which are sort of pretty deficient in sidewalk areas. So the question is, I think the question we need to deal with as a committee is, okay, we have these projects that we have sort of approved and for promotion by this committee going forward. What else can we do? What kind of time frame are we working on? And my understanding, and Councilman Kohler, I don't know if you know, but I recall it being mentioned at one time that there was a new transportation system plan, maybe going to be in the works or in the offing.
There's a number of things, I was just kind of taking notes so I could recap. Right now, we're looking at sidewalks and streetlights in a lot of the South Keizer neighborhoods that have just not had any for a long, long time, trying to bring up that standard in those areas. And that's part of one of the things that we're looking at. And yeah, there's always some ongoing transportation plans that are put in place, but the sidewalks and the streetlights is one of those things that we want to focus on, especially in some of those areas that just have not had them, that are very well-established neighborhoods. They just have not ever had the sidewalks or streetlights.
Well, you can see, I think, in this map in South Keizer and I think in West Keizer, some of the needs are probably most acute just in terms
Right.
of the lack of existing sidewalks.
And that's one of the things we're trying to do to looking at some of the equality pictures, equity pictures in the city, just to make sure we bring those standards up.
So what I propose, and I think this also continues to tie in with Wayne's work on the community path program and Jamie's work on the Safe Routes to School stuff, to figure out how do we coordinate all of this and figure out, again, as a committee, what we want to do going forward. And I don't have an action item to propose beyond that at this point. What do we think are the highest priorities in addition to or other than those we have already identified in our sidewalk connectivity discussions?
Counselor, when you said they're looking at that, that's Public Works is doing a sidewalk lights in planning for South.
So Mayor Clark wants us to take a good look at all of those different areas. And
Who's we?
Mayor Clark wants us to take a good look, the city to take a good look at
Okay, so
that,
basically-
which probably would be run through Public
Yeah,
Works.
what I was, okay. So if we were wanting to input, we'd be inputting into Public Works.
You need to contact Mr. Lawyer.
Yeah, that's what I,
Although Mr. Wickham will have some say-so and all that too, so. So between our planning department and Public Works is where that will probably, the biggest work of that will happen. Then we have to figure out how to pay for it.
that's your job.
No, that's Tim Wood's job.
Yeah.
Do you know, are they already talking with the neighborhood association on that, or is that not even at that point yet?
We're at early stages, but there have been some streets that we've contacted about putting street lights up. They say, no, we don't want them, because they don't want to pay for them.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
They don't want to receive an annual bill on their taxes that says, like, I looked at mine just this week as I was paying my property tax. It was 60 some odd dollars that I was paying for my street lights.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
The other thing I'd just point out is that the SCATS plans overlap some of this stuff, but very little of it is Keizer specific and has much to do with our concerns about neighborhood
Right,
networking.
SCATS is pretty
connectivity.
regional.
I can't remember if I'd mentioned this at the last meeting, or maybe I was just telling Wayne. There's something that ODOT has where it's a sidewalk inventory program, and basically it's a condition inventory, though it's not a gap inventory. And I received a copy of it. It's beta version right now, but I was gonna dive into it, and in our January meeting, I'd like to present it and see if there's interest in us doing it as a group, going out and hitting areas where we either know from personal experience or we've heard that the sidewalks are in, I suppose, disrepair or that sort of thing.
When we did the walk around the Kennedy, I walked around a few days later, a couple, 3 different days, and
marked all of the places where brush covered the sidewalks were cracked, 2-inch where the trees have pushed it up and like that. So I made a list of I had a big list, but I turned in 20 to the planning department, and they sent out letters. It's amazing in the older neighborhoods how poor some of the sidewalks have become, and it is the responsibility of the homeowner to keep those in repair. You can't just go out and spray it with orange paint and say you're done with it.
No.
But I noticed I went back, and most of the people had cut shrubs back 2-3 feet. They didn't like it. It didn't look very good at the time because you had to cut
Right.
4 feet off your hedge or something that was all the way over the sidewalk in places. But that was just around the one school area. And some people didn't do anything at all, like the school district and the power company that still got gaps, holes, uneven sidewalks, yeah.
Well, I think what would be good one of the things that could come out of that would be if we could have that inventory and know of areas like that where you have the different elevation sidewalk that might need to be ground down or something, where we could get sort of a, for lack of a better term, group discount, where we could get landowners on board and then just do some hiring of some contractor that everyone sort of pays into, but it's cheaper than if someone who chose to do it on their own, and then ideally get more bang for the buck.
Oh, and the project we were on, we were doing the safe routes to school, because I was walking the routes I thought kids would walk. So
Yeah.
that ties in with that. And the parents can also do that.
Yeah.
I hope that this information is useful to folks, and it's available. Deb has the PDFs if anybody wants those. Just thinking about, the question I always have is how can we as a committee best use, what influence do we have? Where do we stand in terms of how to move some of these projects forward? I mean, we have the community path program, we have the safe routes programs, which are useful, but moving outside of those, how can we exercise influence? So I think just thinking about that is important.
Okay, cool. Thank you. And tearing off of that, I suppose everything we've talked about and will talk about is, it would be nice if when it comes to the design of these sidewalks that we're filling in these gaps, and I know there's already the current design about width and slope and such, but maybe trying to incorporate, which is the next thing for us, is the NACTO, at least some type of maybe a street crossing, narrowing, or things like that to make it safer for where people are, especially on the main routes to schools where lots of kids are walking, and just narrow that gap from sidewalk to sidewalk. In which case, like in the southeast neighborhood, if we can get early on the conversation where we decide we're going to do something, but more of the design talk rather than just the location.
And one of the things I will say that the Public Works sidewalk inventory includes is at least information about the existing sidewalk widths. That's part of this inventory and is on there. So it doesn't address all of those kinds of issues, but that's one piece of information that we do have available to us here.
Okay. All right. Well, I have nothing for this. I was mentioning for the next meeting, not remembering that we were not having a December meeting about having a little presentation, but I think I'd rather do the sidewalk inventory presentation in January, and then push my normal discussion point a little bit later. So that would leave us.
Would it be, I'm just curious, since we've never interacted much with the planning department, and if they have, to my knowledge, they haven't contacted us about anything. If they have a plan on, for example, what their urban growth boundary is going to look like, and we're talking about interconnected neighborhoods, were they interested in having that information, or are we going to end up like we are right now after the fact where you can't do anything?
The expansion of the urban growth boundary is in its infant state.
I'm just saying,
at
but
this point.
even if he's planning, whatever they're planning in the south
We
end.
don't
of
even
town-
know where we can do it yet.
Yeah, I know. I was
So,
on that board.
It's not that we're not interested, it's just that we're trying to determine even if we can really even look at it. Well, cost is one of the things, there's no question about that, but the other is LCDC, and our urban growth decisions are really locked into Salem and Salem and Marion County and Polk County. And if they look at us and say, oh, we don't think you need to do that, we have plenty of stuff, we're stuck, we can't do anything. So there's a lot to get to before we really start working on any design things at all.
Okay, but if there's I know the planning